I heard a saying a long time ago, well, not a long time ago, but just 2 years ago, that people do the best they can with what they have. And, you know, again, I have to repeat that we were really blessed because Maslow gave us something that we wouldn't normally have and that we are now able to pass on to our children. You know, with my students, I truly believe that their parents do the best they can with what they have. It's like Steve says, they don't know anything about self-esteem, self-worth, confidence, things like that. They know I have to put food on the table, I have to pay the bills, I have to keep these kids. They know the basics, they know survival. And we were given an opportunity to go beyond survival. And it might sound like a heavy order to fill, but we do have a responsibility to pass that on to our children, because the majority of our kids are going to be the ones that are really going to be shaping future societies, you know, because they have the motivation, they have the ability, and they're going to have all these things because we're going to give them to them because we're going to do the best we can with what we have.
I think to go along with that, one of the things that I remember hearing at MT all the time is you make the best choice that you possibly can at any given point, and you can change that choice at any time that you have more information.
No, never. You develop the courage to make choices, right, wrong.
That's right. That's right. And if you don't make a choice, you're making a choice.
Oh, I always remember that.
So you're
I remember the side.
That's all from the oldest MT student, and also the longest MT student. Because I was there for 8 years, and without MT, I never would have gone back to college. I never would have gotten my degree. I never would have gotten my master's. I never would have gone into mental health. And I never would have continued learning. And it's something that I do every single day.
And Laura is beginning a new career.
Yes, and I am going to prove to people that you can go out and get a job anytime you want to. I don't care how old you are, because I'm starting a new one next week. Doing. The latest thing in healthcare is managed care. And that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a case manager in mental health. People who are have psychiatric diagnoses and need help, and you want to talk about people who have never been touched. They don't know. They used to think I was nuts at Pilgrim when I went to work there in '82, because I would go around and I would hug the patients, and these patients didn't know what it was like to be touched, because who touches an outcast? And I went to see Cats. How many of you have seen Cats?
Yes.
Oh, God, if you ever get a chance, go see it if you've never seen it, because you cry. There is, I mean, it is just the most incredible experience to see that. But, you know, people with mental illnesses are outcasts, and they don't get touched and hugged. And so when you talk about hugging children, they need it so desperately. Wear a T-shirt that says "Hug Therapy."
Hug a plant today.
Hug a plant today. Sure. Why not?
You know, all this talk about alternatives, I think that it's bringing back things now. I would say that's probably one of the best things that I got out of it, was it taught me to think in alternative ways, you know, not to think in a box all the time. You know, that was probably one of the best things that I got. You know, just think of different ways to do things. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do this. I mean, I never take no for an answer anymore, you know, ever since then. You know, and you know, it's just like you said, you know, you could start a career at any time, and you know, I think all that was like the idea of what I got out of it.
It's funny, I've experienced so many different careers and I mean, from one gamut to the other in the last 17 years. And the thing that has been great for me is I stopped having to prove myself to anybody. You know, I'm okay. And whatever happens, whether I succeed or fail, I'm still going to be okay. And that, to me, is more important than anything. And, you know, just enjoying my family and life, and you know, I mean, I'm not going to tell you everything's been a bed of roses because I'd be lying, but that's okay too.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Life's not easy, and things are difficult. And, you know, you grow up and you're not, you know, this little kid that has nothing to think about. Now you have responsibilities and health to worry about, and food to worry about, and bills to pay, and dollars to, you know, which I never gave a hoot about. Even for a while in my career, I did things because it felt good. You know, I worked in the mental health field for years and worked with retarded adults where I lived with them. I took care of them by myself. That was as much as a learning and growing up experience for me as it was for them. You know, I was learning how to deal with paying bills for myself as I was for them.
But you had a little MT in that community too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I used to meet with I had 10 clients. In fact, the funny thing, I was on the train, waiting for a train, and one of my clients came up to take the train home, and I hadn't seen him in years and years. And we started talking. Yeah, I used to meet with them every Friday night. I had 5 women and 5 men, and we used to meet in a little forum every Friday night and go over all the stuff and what we wanted to do that next week and goals and objectives, and you know.
Why did you do that with your family? I've always been curious about that.
Yeah. Actually, it happens at dinner time.
Dinner.
That's not, yeah.
Everybody
we
has to be
every
there for
night,
dinner.
so together.
We're running up against the clock. Last home stretch. Any unfinished business? Anything that anybody wants to say? I'd love to hear you explain this in words.
Next week, Joe.
Okay.
No, do it this week. I won't be here next week.
You won't be here. Why wouldn't you be here? Well, anyway, for you, Steve, being an MT, former student, failure as we know it doesn't exist in our vocabulary. It's a learning experience. Okay, so when I see failure, I don't see failure. I see it as a learning experience. I was taught from Maslow-Toffler that we're not failures. You know what I mean? So basically speaking, it's basically, all I wanted to say, on that particular issue. But MT to me goes very deep. It's something that will be embedded in me for the rest of my life. And everyone who I was with and I have communicated with and spent that time with will be with me, always. It's very deep.
You know what's very interesting about you saying that to me too, is that I remember with the single example of Debbie, who I call Stacy after. I remember you guys and your names and your faces 20 years after better than I remember people who I had in class 2 years ago. That there is something in what Steve is saying that rang very true for me. The relationships that were made were enduring and very different than the kinds of relationships that are made in a classroom today. And I feel a sense of tremendous loss for people who don't even understand the loss, who have never experienced it. And for that reason, I think one of the joys of these meetings is being able to talk with kindred souls who understand, because we've all been there. To talk to people, if you've experienced it over the years, to someone who has never been there, to try to explain to them, it is the most frustrating and sometimes even painful experience, because it's as if you have visited another planet, and it's just there aren't words.
You know what it brings? It says to me that the circle that we used to sing about all the time, it will never be unbroken, is true. No matter where we are, no matter all over the world, there's a piece of all of it, and it's no matter. I mean, you can see it just when we all saw each other. I mean, it's just it'll never break. It's all going to be there.
That's in the '76 video, by the way, the circle. Okay, I guess it's more than time for us to say goodnight. Thank you. If you can spread the word and join us again for any other evening, we'll try to get out at 8:30 from now on for those of you who are taking responsibilities.
I know.
Thank you so much.
You used to say that in MT too.
My sister next week, it's her year.
Yeah.
So I
There's
think
still
we're
one
You'll
word
know
though, John.
Hi,
That's the
Sue.
problem.
She still talking?
Hi, Sue.